Hi, welcome to Survivor Chess. Today, we are going to teach you how to use the pawns in chess. The pawn seems, to the beginner, to be rather insignificant. After all, it is worth only 1 point, the least of any of the other chessmen. However, pawns can be very important, as you will come to appreciate. At the beginning of the game, each side has 8 pawns. Except on its first move, a pawn may only move 1 square forward at a time. Pawns can never move backwards. When a pawn makes its very first move, it has a choice. It can either move 1 square or 2. However, it moves 1 square in all following moves. If the square immediately in front of the pawn contains another piece, then the pawn is unable to move forward. It is blocked. Although a pawn moves straight forward, it captures by talking 1 square diagonally forward. When a pawn reaches the other end of the board, it can be changed for any other piece of its own color, except the king. This is called promotion. Therefore, a pawn can be promoted to a queen, a rook, a bishop, or a knight. Normally a pawn is promoted to a queen, but sometimes there may be a good reason to promote a pawn to another piece instead. If there is not a spare queen, a rook turned upside down, or any other suitable object, is placed on the board to represent a queen. A pawn is promoted by removing the pawn from the board and placing the chosen piece on the promotion square. Now, we are going to explain you how a difficult pawn movement. En passant, French for, in passing, is an unusual rule that applies specifically to pawns and involves a special move. Let's say you're playing as white and you choose to move your pawn 2 squares forward on its first move. If on that move, the pawn lands on a square adjacent to a black pawn on its 5th rank, the enemy pawn may still capture the white pawn. The capture must be made immediately on the next move, or the right to capture en passant is forfeit. If an en passant capture is the only legal move that can be made, it must be played. Now, we are going to talk about the history of the pawn, as this will help you to understand why it moves like this. When the Indians developed chess, they modeled it on their army. Each piece represented an arm of the military. The pawns were styled on the infantry on the front line. Not much changed, as the Europeans saw them in a similar light. The pawn represented a foot soldier or a common peasant. For this reason, the pawns line up on the front line. It only marches forward, is used to hold the line, and like cannon fodder is often sacrificed for a higher purpose. However, all of this is important. There is a magic way to win 70% of your matches just knowing how to place your pawns. I will teach this secret key in the next video. Subscribe, because chess is a game that benefit your life. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video.